Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondi Blue and I am back for another Iyanla Fix My Life, okay? In this episode, it was not a celebrity episode. This was about a young lady named Alicia, who I believe is 31 years old. And as a child around the age of 5 or 6 years old, she was molested by her maternal grandfather and then was told to cover it up. Since then, she started a movement trying to teach other young girls and other mothers how to talk to their daughters about their bodies and being knowledgeable so that people don't take advantage of them and people don't think that it's okay. And also to speak out, to say something, because she was told not to say something. So Iyanla sits down with Alicia, and basically what Iyanla sees is somebody who is diagnosed themselves but has misdiagnosed themselves, okay? They see what the issues are, but they have not actually dealt with them, not exactly healed from them, just decided to use the pain for a cause and haven't really dealt with the pain, haven't really sat with it. Alicia hasn't. And she has this story that she's so used to telling everybody. And Iyanla tells her, I'm going to need for you to step away from that story. And she asks her, does she have permission to go off of what she's feeling and not what Alicia was saying to her? Because Alicia has told this story so many times online and in different videos and showcasing, how to talk to your daughter. And, her daughter would be in the videos. Her daughter is around, 8 years old now. But in the video, she looked like she was about 6 or 7. So Iyanla pointed out to her that even in her doing that, you were putting a lot of pressure on a little girl and just handling it in a way where the intent is right, but the way she's going about it is wrong. And basically how everything went down with Alicia when she was a child was that she told her aunt first, and then her aunt called her mother and told her, and they said, okay, we're going to talk to your grandfather about it. The grandfather admitted that he did it, but said that he only exposed himself. The mother, Miss Judy, okay? I remind y'all, if y'all haven't seen the episode, that Judy is Caucasian, Judy is white, her father is white, Alicia is mixed, her father is a very dark-skinned black man, okay? So if you're looking at Alicia, you see light-skinned black girl, okay? But growing up, Alicia didn't exactly know where she fit in. Like a lot of mixed kids, she was picked on because she was either too black for the white kids or too white for the black kids and just didn't really know where to fit in. And not only was the molestation something that happened, but the molestation was even able to take place because she was being neglected. Her mother, Judy, was not very present, okay, which shows in how she handled the situation from the beginning. I mean, not really asking, not actually trying to find out what physically took place between your father and your child. And then after knowing about it, telling your daughter not to say anything so we can all protect the molester. Because if the dad would have found out, he would have tried to kill Judy's dad and the grandfather, Opie, whatever the fuck they called him, okay? And I'm just like, so you mean to tell me everybody is trying to protect the molester, the grown-ass man who had sex with his 5 to 6 year old granddaughter, okay? You're trying to protect his life, but then Judy, and y'all, even as I talk about this, as I was watching the episode, I can often watch things like this without feeling that strongly in my body physically, but I don't know why. I'm hella in tune right now. And I was just so in my body disgusted by what that was leaving in my mind. That this old ass man would get on top of his 5 to 6 year old grandchild and try to have sex with her, have his way with her, in Alicia's words. It is just it makes me cringe even in this moment, makes my skin crawl. I mean, it was just so very difficult for me to understand how Alicia's mother, Judy, could continue to take her child to her parents' home and left her there without the mom even being there. Like, I don't even understand how Judy as a mother could leave Alicia with the grandfather again after that. How could you do that? And her sister Sharon was the one that Alicia initially told. And Sharon, while she has been dealing with alcohol issues her entire life, was very, very pissed off by the fact that Judy continued to let Alicia go by the grandfather's house. She never said anything because she didn't want to shame Judy. I'm like, why is everybody worrying about everybody else's feelings but Alicia's? Everybody's worrying about how the dad would have felt, how the grandfather would have felt, how Judy would have felt. And nobody is even giving a fuck about how all of this affected a very young Alicia, how this affected their family as a whole. But what Iyanla really was trying to make everybody understand is that they were already living in dysfunction, and that is why the molestation was even able to happen. Because when you are protecting your children, shit like this should not happen over and over again. Like, I don't care what anybody is talking about. I felt protected as a child, which is why that probably did not happen to me. But I'll be damned if I know somebody molested my child and then I just continue to send them over there. Like, pushing your child into the lion's den and glazing over it as if everything's gonna be okay. She'll forget. She won't remember. And the thing that made me the most mad with the mother is that the fact that this is something that happened to her. So you never forgot. You were the same age when your grandfather put his hands in your panties and in the panties of your sister and all your other little family members that will go over and spend time with them every other weekend. Like, it was infuriating to me that she would continue to put her child at risk after experiencing something like that herself. But you know what? I had to step back and realize that Judy is so messed up and Judy is dealing in her way. Sharon went to the bottle with hers, and Sharon has gone through a whole bunch of emotional therapy when she was trying to get past her addiction, and she is a recovering alcoholic. So she has went through all of these things where she had to get to the root of her problem. So she is more spiritually aligned and more aware of herself than Alicia and Judy. How Judy has handled this is to keep pushing things away and act like it's not happening. She wasn't present. And see, that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't really understand. They feel it, but they don't understand it. They don't know how to put words to it. A person can be in the house every day and not be present, not actually be involved. They're in a room in the house, but they're not actually giving any input. Their energy is not working off of yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have uncles who are like that. I've known, other people who, I've seen that more in men than in women, where men feel like just them being in the house is enough and them providing is enough. They don't necessarily have to interact with their children when they get home because they're so tired or whatever the bullshit reason is, but it's you not actually being present. And that is an issue, because when you're not present, because you're trying not to deal with the fact that you were molested by your grandfather and your father was molested by his grandfather and the grandfather was molested by his dad. Like, when you're trying to get away from that, trying to get away from what that did to you, and you put up all of this denial around you and ignore all of these things that are happening, ignoring your gut feeling, ignoring what people are telling you, things that you know for a fact, ignoring all of that just so you cannot have to deal with it. So you cannot have to deal with the fact that your father molested your child. So you cannot have to deal with the fact that you have an abusive husband who is so violent that you will be scared to tell him something this serious in your child's life. You kept this away from him from years and told your daughter not to tell anybody. So you basically have a jar full of turmoil. And when she told you what happened to her, she took the lid off the jar. And what you did was stuff everything back in the jar and put the fucking jar top right back on it and squeezed it tight and said, you can't tell. You can't express yourself. You can't live in your truth. So when she finally could, okay, after the grandfather died and the parents got a divorce, she finally told her dad what happened between she and her grandfather. And the daddy was so mad. He was so upset with the mom. I don't know if that was why they got a divorce. They didn't say, but they did end up getting a divorce. And a month after she told her dad what happened, he died in a car accident. And he was the only one that really was behind her movement, was behind her doing what she was trying to do to help other people who had also been survivors of child molestation. And she went to her family members and extorted money from them. Before the grandfather died, she went to him and said, give me a car. If you don't give me a car, I'm going to tell everybody what you did. And he said he couldn't live like that. So he told his wife, her grandmother, what he had done. And that was the first time she tried to do that. Then the second time was after he died, and she tried to extort money from the grandmother and say that I'm going to tell everybody because nobody helped me and he never had to pay for what he did to me. And of course, it didn't happen then. So then all her family members changed their phone numbers and changed their, or blocked her off social media and weren't answering her. So she didn't have any contact with her aunt, with her grandmother. And she felt like everybody was disowning her because she finally came out and spoke her truth. But in all actuality, what Iyanla had to make her understand is she was telling that story from her point of view, but from the point of view of her family, you were calling us looking for money. So that's why we changed our number. And to me, I feel like that's not even enough. Like, fuck you. Money after everything y'all allowed to happen. And another thing was like the way they spoke about the grandmother, talking about his wife. Nobody ever said my grandma. Nobody ever really said my mother. They just kept referring to their mom, the grandmother in his family, as his wife, which I thought was so weird. Like, who the fuck refers to their grandmother as their grandfather or their daddy's wife? Nobody like says shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Unless there's some serious separation in the emotional attachment to the mother. Like, I'm looking at the grandmother like, bitch, you was in the house with them when this shit was going on. You mean to tell me you didn't know nothing about what the fuck was going on? And it's known in y'all family that grandfathers like to molest their grandchildren? I mean, just the venom, the evil that has to take place in a family of people that will let that continue to happen, and nobody's talking about it, nobody's healing from it, and we just continue to let it happen. Like, how, Sway? How? I don't understand it, y'all. I don't understand it, because much like Alicia, I feel like if something like that happened to me, I would want to be trying to make sure something like that never happened to my child. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's Alicia's whole thing, is to protect her child, to make sure that that doesn't happen to her child. Whether she had a boy or a girl, she knew before she even had kids that she would do everything she could to make them knowledgeable about their bodies so that that didn't happen to them. But, I had to take a step back, because really, in talking to the mom, talking to Judy, Judy has been silenced herself. She has been molested herself. She has been the subject of violence herself, and I don't think she is the type of personality that can deal with that outright. She just kept cocooning and kept cocooning. So Iyanla did exercises with Alicia and with Judy. The one she did with Alicia had all of these bricks, and she wanted her to put the amount of bricks, like maybe, 1 to 10 bricks in whatever category she deemed, she had that rating, whatever. When it came to, I guess emotional, financial, things like that. And she might have her life together a little bit more when it comes to her finances or her business, but emotionally, she's inept. And that means that she didn't have enough building blocks at her foundation. So even though she has, all of these blocks when it comes to this, she only has 2 when it comes to this. So Iyanla basically did this exercise to put a physical look to the fact that she didn't have a good foundation. So how are you going to build on top of that and expect it to be strong? How are you going to expect to administer to other people, to help other people, when you haven't even helped yourself? And Iyanla told her that she was making other people thieves by giving them what she was not giving herself. And I thought she really needed to understand that. And Iyanla kept saying, I'm not saying that you have ill intent. I definitely see that you're trying to help people, but you're going about it the wrong way, because you can't help other people until you understand what's wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? Until you fix what's wrong with you. And she never really sat in it. She never really dealt with it. And it was painful, y'all. It was very painful to watch her cry, to watch her lean on Iyanla, to watch her understand that something that she had assigned to herself as her calling was a representation of her being codependent on other people and using their healing as a way to make herself feel good. It's almost like a drug for her to help other people so that she doesn't really have to help herself. So the exercise that Iyanla did with Judy was they're in the kitchen trying to cook breakfast for the kids, and they keep having all of these distractions. People ringing the doorbell, people dropping flowers over, getting a vase for the flowers, and, just all kind of stuff going on. And Iyanla was just trying to prove to Judy that she was going through her life not really dealing with things. Everything is spiraling out of control, and you just standing there with a smile on your face, burning the breakfast, but it doesn't matter because it's for the kids. Like, she really wasn't taking care of her children. She really wasn't being there for her children. Even though she loved them, she was not present for them. She wasn't really protecting them. She wasn't trying. You know what I'm saying? Like, just doing the bare bare basics of keeping them alive. And when they all sat down, and first she blindfolded Alicia and brought Alicia up the stairs, and her mom and her aunt were in the room blindfolded, and she had Alicia sit down and say, tell your mom how she's betrayed you. Okay? And everybody's unblindfolded at this point after she, talked about her pain and all of that. And when they get to this, how my mother betrayed me, and the example she gave was her father would be upset and fighting her, and her mom would be in a back in a bedroom somewhere crying and ignoring it while she was screaming for her mom to come and help her, but she didn't come out. And I'm like, see that basic protection over your children? The fact that she didn't have that, y'all, I am in my body. I don't even understand. Like, I don't even understand how you could sit in a room while somebody like hurts your child. Like, I can remember times when my daddy was whipping me and my mama would come in like, that's a fucking enough. Like, that is enough. Like, even, you know what I'm saying? Even when you feel like you're doing the right thing as a mother, there should be something that kicks in that says, I have to protect my child. And it's just so fucked up that Alicia didn't grow up having that. Her mom didn't even feel the need at base level to protect her from the abusive father, from the molestation of the grandparent. I mean, she is upset. Alicia is so pissed at her mom, and it's so understandable. But what she really needed to understand was that her mom is already a broken person that just wasn't strong enough to deal with all of the things that happened. So she just glazed over and just let them happen. Y'all know how black people do. We do this sometimes. Like, the world is so fucked up. And, we're always scared. But there are times, like, especially with this government and everything that's going on, we have to just act like the shit isn't happening in our world. We have to zero in on what's happening right around us. Because if we think about what's happening on a large scale, we're going to stress ourselves the fuck out. Okay? Like, that's the best example I can give to y'all right now. So the next thing is that Sharon tells her sister that she was angry with her because she felt that she didn't want to shame her. She didn't want to tell her about how she felt about her continuing to let Alicia go to the granddad's house. And that's when her mom said, I didn't think, it was just a one-time thing for him. I didn't think he was a molester. And Sharon was like, a one-time thing that does mean he's a molester. That does mean he was a molester. And the thought clicked for her, and she was like, oh, I messed up. She was like, I messed up real bad. And you could see like everything start to float to the top. And I was like, that lady is, is fizzling up. Like, you could just see it. And I don't know if it had the profound effect after the fact, but I really hope it did. I felt something from the entire episode. And, Iyanla resolved some things for them, and I think pointed out things that they could not see for themselves. I don't think Alicia could see how she was using her cause as a way to shield herself from her pain. I don't think that Judy really came to the realization what she had done in betraying her child. And another thing, I skipped over this, I forgot, was that she talked about the book. So Alicia wrote a book explaining what actually happened. And that was the first time the mom had ever really known what actually happened, and that her dad actually forcibly raped her 6-year-old daughter. You know what I'm saying? So she didn't even know that until years later when she was reading her daughter's book. And then upon reading that, she was like, I was disgusted. I had to stop reading it. And then I came back to it later and it got better, talking about positivity and about her movement and everything. But the fact that she had to read it in her book, you her mama, you was there when this happened and you didn't even ask. Like, it just shows how detached she was from her own life, from her children. And there are people walking around like that. There are mothers and fathers walking around in their children's lives being absolutely detached because they have so much shit that they haven't dealt with personally. And that's when you have to realize that taking care of yourself first is what matters more than anything, because this is the prime example of if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of nobody else. This lady never took care of her emotional health, her spiritual health, never took care of herself enough to pick better people for herself. Like, I really feel like she ran to her violent husband because he seemed like he would be able to protect her from the type of shit that she dealt with as a child. But then indirectly made it so that probably the one thing that she really liked about her husband was when people are violent like that, even if they're violent with you, you know that they're protective of you, like when it comes to other people. So even if they are abusive to you, you will feel like, or at least they can protect me away, against all of these other things. Like, that's really how it feels. Like, my daddy was a violent dude, and I would sometimes be not violent like that. Like, my dad didn't beat on me. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm just mean, like, in his anger, in his voice, like in his mannerisms, he was very much somebody who could be taken over by his anger sometimes, and he passed that down to me, and that's something I've had to like deal with and work on and shit. But I can remember feeling like no matter what, even if I was, nervous or scared about how he would react to anything I did wrong, he still was my protector. And I still felt like as long as he was in the house and I could hear him snoring, I felt safe. Okay, so I can imagine that the mom wanted that husband because of that, because he made her feel safe and probably would make her children feel safe, and didn't realize that by trying to protect her dad, she basically took from her daughter the very thing that she probably got with that man for, which is the dad was not allowed to then protect his daughter because you took that option away from him when you didn't tell him what happened to her. And the fact that nobody told him, also that they could protect his grandfather, y'all, this story was so messed up to me. It was so messed up. It definitely was something I had to shake off after watching it. But I think that it definitely was something that's going to help other people, because I think that Iyanla does this thing, and people may not understand it. I think that people who don't watch Iyanla are the ones who always talking about, oh, I don't really mess with her. They see clips online, they see promos of her saying not on my watch or getting in somebody's face, and they don't understand her. But if anybody that really watches her, have read her books, will understand she really, really has a gift. And what her gift is, a lot of the time, is being able to put words to feelings that people don't know how to explain. And that is her gift, and that's what she was able to do with a lot of these situations, especially in this episode. So I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Ultimately, the ladies seem to have resolved and, have a better relationship and are dealing better. And Alicia understands that she maybe needs to take a step back from her foundation so that she can heal herself, spend time with her daughter, and get away from the defense so that she can enjoy her life. And I don't think she's doing that. So, in getting a better relationship with her mom and her aunt, and understanding that they love her and that they are just trying to deal with this the best that they could as well, y'all. But anyway, y'all, it's just a real testament to, you can do something wrong. You can have a place in messing up somebody's life, but just because you're the mom doesn't necessarily mean you're full to blame. And Iyanla told Judy to stop blaming herself. You're accountable, but you're not to blame. Okay? And I kind of feel like I understand that. What she means is, if your dad never molested you, and I don't think the dad molested the mom. I think the grandfather molested the mom. So, of course, you're not thinking before this happened that this could actually happen. And then when it actually did happen, you start to try to self-explain it to yourself so that it can make sense, because it doesn't make sense to you. But then it's also something familiar that you've gone through, and you know how you handled it and you internalize it. So you want your daughter to internalize it. So people really just be dealing with things the best that they can with what they have. And, Judy didn't have a lot. But anyway, y'all, like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed this review of Iyanla. I hope that I was able to say something, I prayed on it before I did it, because it was something that was so serious and invoked such physical, emotion from me. So I just wanted to be clear when I spoke on this. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and I hope I'll see y'all in the next one.